Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Day's Podcast along with a new video. So we had just recently finished a video talking about Whitney's debut album, Whitney Houston. So I thought we can just keep going and be able to talk about her second album. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out Patreon and Spotify, where there are exclusive episodes and videos that you guys can be able to check out. Again, I truly appreciate everyone looking and watching and viewing and listening. So thank you again, and let's get started. So we are talking about Whitney's second album, Whitney. Whitney is the second album by Whitney Houston, released on June 2nd, 1987. This literally came out right before Bad, after Control. This was an album that, honestly, I don't even think most of the public was really expecting, because it says recorded 1986 to 1987. So even in the midst of promoting her first album, which is self-titled, she has just her first name that she's working on, and it's like, all right, let's get into it. And released by Arista Records as the follow-up to her debut album. The album features 5 top 10 hits on the US Billboard Hot 100, which also became international hits. The album's first 4 singles: I Wanna Dance with Somebody, Who Loves Me, Didn't We Almost Have It All, So Emotional, and Where Do Broken Hearts Go, all peaked at number 1 on the Hot 100, making her the first female act to achieve 4 number 1 hits from one album. Along with 3 straight number 1 singles from Houston's previous album. This gave the singer an unprecedented 7 consecutive number 1 hits, surpassing the Beatles and the Bee Gees, who each had 6 number 1 consecutive hits. None of Houston's 7 consecutive number 1 singles were duets, and none were recorded with other major acts. The album Whitney also included the top 10 US hit Love Will Save the Day. The album and the first single, I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me, were hits worldwide, peaking at number 1 on the US, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and several countries throughout Europe. It also became a major hit in various other countries in Asia, South America, and Africa. The album was a global success and debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard Top 200 album chart on June 27, 1987. This made Houston the first female artist to ever debut at number 1 in the US. Really? Let me read that again. This made Houston the first female artist to ever debut at number 1 in the US. Ever. The album remained at the top for 11 consecutive weeks, creating a record, the most cumulative weeks, 25 weeks at number 1 on the albums chart by a female artist during the 1980s. She is the first one to ever debut an album for a female artist by 1987. That says a lot. At the 30th Grammy Awards, it received 3 nominations, including Album of the Year, with Houston winning Best Pop Vocal Performance Female for I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me, with sales of over 20 million copies worldwide. Whitney is one of the best-selling albums of all time. On October 28, 2020, the album was certified diamond by the Recording Academy for sales of over 10 million copies. This is legendary. She really did a lot. The production of the album had a more pop feel than the first album. Pretty much. But she did, a few appearances for this album, but there weren't too many. It was really just, I'm out, here you go, and listen to me. The critical critical reception was favorable, but upon the album's debut, the reception was mixed. Most of the critics admitted the commercial value of the album, but were critical because its standard pattern followed the predecessor's winning formula and the materials failed to reveal Houston's individuality. See, Rolling Stone also gave an unfavorable review, stating the formula is more rigorously locked in than before, and the range so tightly circumscribed then Houston's potential seems to have shrunk rather than expanded, and the record is smug, repressive, and ridiculously safe. I didn't feel that. I mean, I didn't feel that. Yeah, Houston became the first female artist to debut at #1 in the history of the Billboard 200 chart, and made her the 4th artist to achieve that feat overall, behind Elton John with Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, and Rock of the Westies, Stevie Wonder, and Songs in the Key of Life, and with Bruce Springsteen and E Street Band with Live 1975-1985. So she joined a whole group that was like, we went #1, you know, like our albums were great, your album's great, you know, and so yeah, people were being critical. But here's the track list. Track one is I Want to Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me. Track 2 is Just the Lonely Talking Again. Track 3 is Level, Save the Day. Track 4 is Didn't We Have It All. Track 5 is So Emotional. Track 6 is Where You Are. Track 7 is Love Is a Contact Sport. Track 8 is You're Still My Man. Track 9 is For the Love of You. I believe she did a cover for that. Yeah. Okay. Track 10 is Where Do Broken Hearts Go? And track 11 is I Know Him So Well, with a duet with Sissy Houston. I'm sorry. Yeah. So there was 11 tracks, and based off of the first 2 releases, whether it's Whitney Houston or Whitney alike, it was a, collection, if you will, like that, putting those albums together, you kind of get a mixture of, her being a little versatile, going more into like a cleaner side of things with Whitney, as opposed to just being more just raw, you know what I mean, as the Leo that she was, just giving us vocals, and she still was giving us vocals in Whitney. Of course, they felt like it was just so, it could have, I guess they felt like she could have did more, but it's like, what else? Not to say that there isn't else, but, what, did you want more tracks that could have been released? Like, I don't know. But yeah, as far as her next album from this, I'm Your Baby Tonight, now that's an album that, no one was ready for either, because they were like, wait a minute, I'm Your Baby Tonight, and she's, jumping into a more R&B, funk, hip-hop side of things, and serenading a bit more, and just letting people know, like, I'm a woman now, like, I'm an adult, like, I'm grown, and we will talk about that album as well. But yes, this was a good album, a great album, and yeah, it's Randy Jackson, who is from American Idol, was on the bass sync for I Want to Dance with Somebody. There's certain people that, back in the day, they worked with different artists, and you can really look into it. And of course, we can look into it together. But yeah, guys, as far as for Whitney, this album was a success. It did lead to her wanting to creatively get into things that was not as much into pop, which is I'm Your Baby Tonight. But this was her more or less just wanting to give the public more of a sense that, you know, I'm international. You know, I have a voice. You guys will see more of my voice. This is literally something within a year's time. Not even, well, a year and a half, I should say. But, you know, based off of other peers that she's had, that she has, I should say, they took more time. They took 2 to 3 years or 4 years, maybe even 5 years, and that was based off of whether they were, you know, touring more or just kind of promoting more or writing more. So I'm not saying that she don't got things in the vault. They all have things in the vault. I think that creatively, artists usually did work more than 40 songs at least at a time for each project. So it's like, if they, you know, most of these critics that I'm reading, whether songs are in place and track lists are, you know, the right length, they just feel like, why doesn't this have more substance? Why doesn't this? And it's odd because it's like, is this really a question of, did you want more tracks? Or like Michael, there was just enough, and you can't put your fingertips on the fact that maybe there was just enough for that project, you know? Because 9 songs became not even a standard, but something that you was working around, I guess, in releasing, from what I see in the 80s. Because he even put out, I think he put 11 songs when he came out with Bad in the midst of this album. So it was just like, you know, there wasn't so much songs that were released for albums at times. So I feel like at times there was a lot of sense of like people feeling like they probably wanted more, and record companies being like, well, listen, we're only pushing so much right now. If they want more, there's a deluxe. And it's just like, you know what? don't do the people like that. They want more music. We want more music. But yes, Whitney is legendary. There will be more we will talk about. This is the end of our video and episode. I thank you again for listening and watching, and I'll be back with more.